How's it going, everybody? So the testing grounds have been out for a few days, and if you haven't checked them out, you're really missing out. This is by far the biggest batch of changes that we had since, well, probably since Season 5 when they implemented all the parry changes. That's also the reason why it took me a while to get this video out. There was a massive amount of stuff to test, and I guess I had to collect my thoughts on all of them first. I did a testing stream right when the patch dropped, and I uploaded it to YouTube, so if you want to check that one out, I will leave links everywhere. I don't think I can cover everything in a single video, as it would probably be way too long, and changes like these should be understood by everyone. So I'd rather explain in small batches than dump all the info on you at once, knowing full well that most won't watch to the end. As a little caveat at the beginning, most of you know me as someone that complains a lot, and complains even about small things. It's just in my nature, and I complained a ton on the stream as well, but please know that a lot of these changes are absolutely amazing for this game. They are a step in the right direction, and even if I bitch and moan about things I don't like, please don't mistake this for me not agreeing with what these testing grounds have to offer. If I had the choice between the current live version of the game and the testing grounds, I'd pick the testing grounds without hesitation. But let's look at these changes. The one thing everyone immediately notices is that everything's faster now. Attacks, bashes and so on have been sped up. The current live version of the game has a 66 millisecond increase in speed. When we talk about 500 millisecond attacks, it is 433 in multiplayer. That time got increased to 100 milliseconds. So when we talk about 500 millisecond attacks on the testing ground, that attack is 400 milliseconds. The other major change here is that we no longer have the distinction between buffered and delayed attacks. I've explained this dozens of times before, and I use these terms pretty liberally in all my videos. But as a reminder, what do those two terms mean? A buffered attack is an attack whose input was buffered during an action. So you throw out one attack, and before the attack animation is even fully finished, you already input the next attack. You buffer the attack. That attack would not be increased in speed. If that attack was 500 milliseconds, the full 500 millisecond indicator would show. This is the main reason why people said spamming is not a valid tactic, because if you just spammed attacks, they would come out slower. Delaying attacks, on the other hand, means that you input one attack and wait for that animation to fully finish, and only then you would press the button for the next move, aka you delayed it. This causes the indicator to be shortened by the previously mentioned 66 milliseconds. Neither delaying nor buffering is a thing on the testing grounds. All attacks are sped up by 100 milliseconds. They cut off the animation, and the indicator only shows for the shortened time period. Ubisoft gave the explanation that they don't like the dexterity requirement of it. They also mentioned flickers and the zone input. So here is my personal opinion about this. Feel free to disagree. The speeding up of attacks is completely fine. The extra 33 milliseconds help a ton, and I can press buttons without the fear of being instantly counted. But the removal of the delay mechanic doesn't quite sit right with me. The fact that they call it a dexterity requirement seems a little odd to me. We're not talking about a 30 button input that requires extremely tight timing so you can juggle someone in game. It's literally waiting a tiny bit before you press your button instead of mindlessly hammering on the light key. This is one of the few actual mechanical skill ceilings that we have. It is something that people need to practice, but once they can do it, it opens up a lot of possibilities. I'm 100% sure that the delay mechanic was just something that happened. It was never planned on Ubisoft's side. It was discovered and they ran with it. And now I guess they found a way to get rid of it. This is becoming a little bit of a pattern lately. If something's not that easy to fix, they get rid of it. I'd much rather we keep it and educate our players. Something that is not my or any other content creator's job. This is on Ubisoft to make proper tutorials and explain these kind of things to their players. And if they don't want to do that, then skill-based matchmaking should have sorted that out. Because once players reach a certain point, they need to educate themselves to get better. And they will find videos explaining that kind of stuff. And if you reach a certain MMR, delaying your attacks becomes a must. So it is a form of mechanical skill, and any depth we have should be kept and not removed. I think people should still have to be aware of when they press the buttons instead of face rolling, or dodge attacking on movement like we can currently observe. But what was the actual purpose of the whole speeding up thing? Because I've already seen console players complain about it. Well, not just console players, but you get the idea. This change should have made no difference whatsoever to you. You couldn't react to these attacks before, and now PC players can't react to it either. We've never been as close to equal as in the testing grounds. Everyone can attack now. Well, almost. Another big change happened to the bots. Whereas these previously were not affected by the lag compensation, they now are. You will now be able to actually use bots as a training tool. If you're fine with them input reading your shit and you being unable to react to what they do. What I'm saying is, bots need adjustments in their behavior. But it wouldn't be one of my videos without some frame checks. Not all attacks were changed according to the patch notes. They made some attacks slower, mainly all sub 500 ms moves. The one that didn't get adjustments, despite being mentioned in the patch notes, was LB's top light. It's still old speed. The two moves that are still faster than 500 ms and have neither been mentioned nor adjusted are PK's zone attack at 400 ms and PK's top light at 466. We'll have to wait on a statement from Ubisoft to see whether those were just overlooked or if this was done by choice. We did have other attacks that had shorter indicators, but that is solely done by hiding the indicator. The animation plays, but the indicator is not shown yet. Examples for this are Orochi's Storm Rush, Nobushi's Hidden Stance Lights, or Raider's Storming Tap. None of these have been adjusted. The moves are actually the exact same speed as on the current light version. Here this seems like a design choice because all of them are working like that. I understand that they don't want a 300 ms Storming Tap, but other moves in that category would benefit from it. I'm hesitant to use the word working here. Did they work before? Well, some of the hidden indicators actually work to make a move unreactable, but it just seems weird to totally abandon that method. Now let's talk about lag again. One of my favorite topics about this game, something that pisses me off more than anything else. In case anyone was wondering if that new system actually fixed any of these issues that come with lag. Instant attacks, people teleporting, people dying then reviving straight away. All that shit is still in the game. You just need to be a little laggier than before. None of the thresholds were changed. You can still have 300 latency without any issues. People can still be so laggy that your FPS drop. Might want to look into that, Ubisoft. It's a little annoying when it happens every other game. Because once a certain combined latency is reached, delaying once again works. We've been able to flicker parry indicators on a normal NA to EU connection. There is no consistency once again. Something that this new system was supposed to bring. Something that big man on the stream mentioned. Wishful thinking on my end, I guess. Alright, moving on to happier things. Stamina changes. No more stamina drain on block, parry or whiff. Amazing change. Absolutely amazing. They did increase stamina on parry counters like George's, for example. They're still hell-bent on having a stamina bully in the game. I don't know, I'd prefer if they abandoned the concept, but someone's a little stubborn. Another thing in regards to stamina that was kept is the regen pause after certain bashes. In fact, it got increased for some. I personally absolutely hate the pause, especially since it is not consistent on all characters. Some have it, others don't, despite having a functionally identical move. Just get rid of it, it's frankly annoying. Now for the recoveries, the patch note said that all lights and heavy finishes have now been standardized to 700 ms. This does not include any whiffed attacks. If you whiff your move, all the old recoveries still apply. So if your attack gets dodged, chances are that you will still be guard broken. This is also still the case for getting your light blocked with multiple opponents around. But that doesn't really matter because not all moves got changed. To be fair, I obviously didn't test all the recoveries of all of them, but I did test a few. We do have multiple recoveries for each attack. Recovery to block again, to GB, and recovery to dodge. These aren't all the same. They didn't specify which ones they meant in the patch notes, but fair enough. A lot of them seem to have been adjusted, but we do have outliers. Some are actually worse, quite a bit worse. Valkyrie's third side light, for example, has horrendous recoveries on hit now. Way worse than if she whiffed it. Important to note is that dodge attacks, deflects, and these kind of moves are not affected by any of these changes. They seem to have their own recovery values. The purpose of these recovery changes was probably to establish some rules in regards to frame advantage. So once you're done with your chain, you can't continue forever because your attack would come out faster than your opponent's. I will explain this in much more detail in a future video. This video is quite long already, so I don't want to ramble on for too long. Just know that the idea of these recovery changes is a good one. Now we just need to see these values actually in the game. And the last thing I'm gonna quickly touch on is damage. Patch notes made it sound like there was an overall reduction, yet we do have some numbers that make absolutely no sense. Shaman's Bleed Soft Feint, Gladiator's Zone Attack, Kong's Top Heavy, just to name a few. There's tons of them that need further adjustment, and I'm sure we'll see these fixed pretty soon. We do have characters like Warden whose numbers seem pretty much perfect. Whoever changed these values, put him in charge for the remaining cast, please. But yeah, let's end it here. If there are things left unclear or if you want further explanations on some things, please let me know in the comments. These testing rounds include a ton of things, so it wouldn't be surprising. Having said that, I hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.